these are the ingredients for this recipe. As you can see, not a lot. You can even skip some of the ingredients, or you can substitute with what you have. So first of all, we have these bell peppers. We have the green bell pepper. I have my scotch bonnet. This is very hot, so I only need 2. I also have my onion. It gives pasta a really delicious flavor. And I have my red and yellow bell peppers. I'm using a spiral pasta for this recipe, or as my Italians will say, they will call it party. I don't know if I pronounce it properly, but go and check online. There are so many types of pasta shapes that you can use, but I really like this pasta shape. I have 2 questions for you. What is the most popular pasta shape, and what is the thinnest pasta in the world called? Let me know in the comment section. The quality of the pasta you use is very important, and this one is made from durum semolina, so it is very good. I'll also be using tomato puree for this. This tomato puree has onion and pepper. I'll be using beef stock for extra flavor. I've gotten questions in the past about what stock is. Stock is basically the liquid leftover after boiling meat, fish, chicken, even vegetables. I have a video showing you how I make really delicious stock. The link will be in the description box. I'll be using boiled beef and I will fry it later. To make sure this meal cooks very fast, I'm putting water in a pot and I'll put it on the cooker so that it can start boiling while I'm cutting the peppers. That's just my strategy for making sure I don't spend so much time in the kitchen. Like I said earlier, you can definitely skip out some of these ingredients, but everything comes together to make the meal very delicious. I'm using green bell pepper, yellow bell pepper, and red bell pepper because it brings such a vibrant color to the dish, and you have to admit we eat with our eyes and with our nose before we taste the food. So I wanted this dish to be very colorful. If you don't have all these colors of peppers, you can just use green, or you can just use red, since red is more common. Also, I like to cut them to be pretty even, so I really take time. This is something I always do right from when I was young. I always take time to cut my peppers because I want them to look a particular way. Also, the top of the peppers, you don't have to throw them away. You can plant them. I've started planting them, or you can just blend them and put them in your stock. After cutting the peppers, I'm cutting the beef. I want them in smaller shapes. I'm also going to be frying them. This is going to make this dish so flavorful, because you know when you fry beef, the oil you use from it is going to be so amazing. Now the water is boiling, it's time to put in the pasta. You are going to cook the pasta according to the instructions on the pack. On the pack of this pasta I bought, it says cook for 7 to 8 minutes. 7 minutes if you want it to be a bit hard. If you want it like medium, 8 minutes. And if you want it really soft, 9 minutes. I wanted it a bit hard, so I went for 8 minutes. Sometimes I like soggy pasta, and other times I like it al dente. While draining the pasta, I'm going to heat up a pan. I've added some oil, and this is just to fry the beef. I love fried beef. You can definitely air fry this if you want, or put it in the oven, but nothing compares to when you fry because it adds a lot of flavor. Now I'm just transferring the beef to another plate, and I'm going to bring another pan. I'm using a wok for this recipe because it heats up fast and it cooks everything really like instant. So I'm just using some of the oil from the beef because that's why we fried it in the first place. And then I'm going to put in the onions first. When I was younger, I didn't really like onion. But when I grew up and I understood how flavors work, onions became one of my best friends. So you need to just fry that onion for a bit until the flavors come out, and then we're going to add in the rest of the peppers. Now I'm just adding all the peppers and I'm just going to fry them for about a minute or two. I don't want them to be too cooked. If they are too cooked, they will lose their color. I want it to still be vibrant and a little bit crunchy, but you can definitely cook this how you like or how you prefer. I love bell peppers because they are an excellent source of vitamin A and vitamin C and also potassium. And did you know that they also contain a healthy dose of fiber, folate and iron? So they are very nutritious. You need to have peppers, sweet bell peppers. They are not hot, they are sweet. Of all the peppers, the red peppers are the ones that have the most nutrition, and that's just because they've been on the stick or on the vine the longest. So they have the most vitamin C, 1.5 times more, and they have 11 times more beta carotene, which is good for us, especially in these times. So I'm seasoning with just some salt. I always like to season my pepper. I'm adding some curry, just a little bit curry powder and some thyme. I'm also adding some garlic powder and some ginger powder for extra flavor. If you have the fresh ones, you can use that. I like adding my spices to the oil, something like curry, thyme, because the heat of the oil wakes it up as opposed to putting it in the sauce. Do you get? So it's better to put it in the oil so that it heats up. That is when it is more potent. Now I'm adding the tomato puree and I'm just going to fry this lightly. It does not take time. Like I told you, I'm using a wok and the heat is very high. After about 2 minutes, it's time to add the stock. I'm not adding everything, just using a bit. And if you want to know the ingredients and measurements, check the description box because I'll have it listed there. Now I'm adding the beef to the sauce and I'm just going to mix everything together. The beef is very tender and it's just going to marinate beautifully in that sauce. This recipe kind of reminds me of my beef dodo recipe. The only thing that is missing is the dodo inside the sauce, but it's similar but not exactly the same. If you want to see that recipe, I'll have it linked in the description box. Now it is time to add the pasta and I'm just going to mix everything together. This whole cooking process, did it take more than 30 minutes? I don't think so. And this is what the finished product looks like. It was very, very delicious. And like I said, this is a family favorite recipe. Anytime I make it, everyone is happy. It is quick to make. It is so delicious. My kids eat it and everybody loves it. If you're looking for meal inspiration, ideas, and you don't have time to think about it, I have a 6-month menu planner that you can make use of. The link will be in my description box. It is digital, so when you get it, it comes straight to your phone. It gives you meal ideas that I try in my family, and I hope you love it. I also have a cookbook that has a bunch of recipes that are not on my YouTube channel, so please check that out as well. The link is also in the description box. I get a lot of questions from people saying, is it available in store? No, it isn't. You just download it straight to your phone. It is a digital cookbook. The first thing you need to do is to put a pot of water on the fire so you can boil it to cook your spaghetti. Next, I'm just washing the vegetables I'll use for this recipe. This is ugu. You probably have it at home. It works deliciously with this recipe, so you can try it. I always used to make this recipe a long time ago. It was my go-to, especially when I was pregnant, you guys. But now I still love it. I've gone back to it because you only need a few ingredients and it is so delicious. Next, I'm just going to prep the tomatoes and peppers. So I'll cut some fresh tomatoes, I'll cut up some fresh pepper, I'll also cut up some onion. This works out well for me because sometimes there's no electricity and you can't use the blender. So this will work for you if that's the problem you have. If you don't have like fresh tomatoes, but you already have tomatoes that you've boiled, blended, stored in the freezer or in the fridge, you can defrost it and that can still work for this recipe. It doesn't have to be fresh tomatoes, but the thing is the taste would differ. If you even have tin tomatoes, it can work for this recipe, but it will not be the exact taste that I have. So if you don't use the exact kind of ingredients that I use, you will not get the same taste, but it will still be delicious, okay? For this recipe, I'm using sweet onions. There are different types of onions, but this is the one I want to use for this recipe. When you caramelize this onion, it is so good because it is sweet. If you use red onion, it will give you a different flavor and taste. So you can try using different types of onions that you have, or you can explore. Now that I'm done cutting the tomatoes, pepper and onion, we will move on to the fish. So this is smoked mackerel fish, what we also call Titus fish. I'm going to debone it. Deboning is very important. You don't want to have bones while you're eating your spaghetti. This fish has many bones in different places, so you have this major bone and then you have bones in all that tiny places. And because I'm very aware that my kids will be eating from it, I take extra care to make sure I debone my fish. I just want to know if anybody is like me. You see the middle of the fish where it has this like dark part. I always take it out, and sometimes my friends will be like, Yemisi, why do you do that? I do not like the taste one bit, and I just want to know that there are other people like me. So if you're like me and you take that part out, let me know. That's this bit here, this bit right here. I don't like it at all. So if you're like me, let me know in the comment section, or if you know someone like me. Now that the water is boiling, add some salt, stir together, and then add the pasta. In a pan, add some vegetable oil, not a lot, just a bit. Heat it up. Add onion. Stir well and allow it to cook till it is soft. When the onion is soft, add tomatoes. Don't just dump the whole bowl of tomato into the pan. I like to just add it gradually so that I can drain some of the tomato water because I don't want it in the food. Add your pepper also, stir everything together. We're going to season with just salt and any kind of seasoning that you like. Keep it simple, so I just use salt and like a bit of fishy flavor seasoning. It is recommended that you stir your pasta while it is cooking so that it does not clump together. Now that the pasta is cooked, mine took about 9 minutes. Cook according to the instructions on the package of the pasta you are using. This is spaghetti, and I'm just going to drain it and then just run cold water over it so that it stops the process of cooking. Now I'm going back to my sauce. I'll add my smoked mackerel, my Titus fish, and just stir everything together, allow it to cook. This recipe is so simple, it's unbelievable. While cooking, I decided to add a bit of thyme because I just feel like I like the flavor of thyme. You don't need it, it's not relevant, it's not important. I just like the flavor, so you can skip it. Once the sauce is ready, the oil will float to the top, the aroma will change. Taste it to know if we are happy with the way it tastes, and then we introduce the spaghetti. Always add the pasta in little bits, especially if you're not sure of the proportion of the pasta to the sauce. Mix it. When you stir it in, then you see everything is okay, you can add some more. Now I'm adding some ugu at the same time as adding the pasta, and that's because I want all of them to cook at the same time. It's not going to cook much after this, just about a minute or two. This is one of my beloved recipes, and I don't know why it took so long for me to share it with you guys. Right now I'm going to go through my personal recipe book and start bringing all my recipes, all my simple. You will enjoy this dish if you eat it immediately. Don't go and put it in the freezer or cook it in the morning so that you can eat it at night. Make it fresh. You can prep ahead, but make it fresh. You'll enjoy it, trust me. I would like to know if you try this recipe. I'd like to see your feedback in the comment section. It encourages me, keeps me going. Add this to your food timetable. If you don't have a food timetable, go to the link in this description box and download my 6-month planner. That is my 6-month food timetable. It will give you ideas on meals that you can make. Thinking about what you want to eat every day and every time is stressful. Just go and download my menu planner. The first thing we're going to do is to prep the vegetables. So I've chopped them into little sizes so that they are all uniform and so that it looks nice in the meal. Next, I have some soya pepper, and I'll just use that to season the chicken. So this soya pepper already has seasoning in it, and it has pepper in it, and it just has a bunch of different ingredients, ginger, garlic, and all of that. So it's already seasoned, and I just rub it on the chicken. Next, I'm going to heat up a pan with some vegetable oil, and then we're going to just pan fry this chicken breast. It doesn't take long to cook. Fry it for 2 minutes on each side and you should be good. What we want is for the outside to be crispy and for the inside of the chicken breast to be tender. Once the chicken breast cools down, cut it into little sizes. Now in the same pan used to heat the chicken breast, we're going to fry our vegetables. Put everything at once and just stir fry. The aroma of this combination once it is stir frying is just amazing. To season, I'm using some thyme. I'm also using some curry powder and some salt. Now I'm just going to add the tomato puree and then cook it for about 2 minutes. I'll season with some chicken stock powder and then just set it aside. I've heated up water in a pot, and then once it boiled, I put the spaghettini in, and then I put some salt to season it, and you just allow it cook for a few minutes, 5 minutes maximum. And what I also love about this pasta is that it doesn't stick, you guys. It doesn't. Once the spaghettini is cooked, I'll just drain it and then transfer it to the pan with the vegetables and mix everything till it is properly combined. Do this step by step so that you don't have more pasta than the sauce. I'm adding the chicken soya, and this is just going to add a lovely flavor of soya to this dish. And I'll add something later, which is the final ingredient that is going to seal everything together. The final ingredient is coconut powder, and you put it at the end so that you don't lose that coconut flavor. I'm just mixing everything together, and I tell you, this dish was irresistible. You can serve it like this, or what I did at the end was I sprinkled some more coconut powder just to make it look very nice, and just so that you have more of that coconut flavor. First, I have my tomato paste. This is tomatoes, pepper, onions, blended and boiled to reduce, and I just put it in the fridge. Anytime I need to make a sauce, I just take a little bit of it. It's a concentrate, so this is going to work well for the pasta. Next, we have cherry tomatoes. I've been using these a lot lately, and I just like the taste it brings to the meal. It makes it very, very fresh. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it into two. That's all I need to do to prep this for the pasta. So, question of the day: how do you like your pasta? First of all, how often do you eat pasta? Do you eat it like once a week, once a month? Is it your favorite food? And what type of pasta do you like? As in spaghetti, penne pasta, rigatoni, what type do you like? And also, how do you like it? Jollof, Alfredo? Tell me. Next, I'm going to prep the onions. You see why I always like to cut my onions open before I blend it. I don't throw it whole, because sometimes in the middle it is bad. So I'm always very paranoid about onions, or even tomatoes. I don't like to just put it whole. I like to chop it up a bit before I put it in the blender, just so I can see what's going on in there. Because I had a pretty bad experience one time when I put some tomatoes in the blender, and then there were worms in the tomatoes, you guys. So we were about to have some worm stew. And since then I was like, no. I always open up to check. So that's me. Some people don't mind. They just put everything in whole and blend. You know what? Worms can be full of nutrients. I don't know. But anyways, I'm chopping up the peppers now. These peppers are so hot. I buy them from the supermarket. This is just normal atarodo, but this one is extra hot. I find that I only need about 3 for maximum heat. So depending on the potency of the pepper you are using, you have to be careful. Sometimes they're very hot and sometimes they are not. So this one I'm using is very, very hot. As you can see, I'm trying not to touch it at all. I'm going to be using basil for this recipe. I'm just cutting off the stems and cutting it into 2. I typically don't cut the basil, but this one was very big, so I just had to cut it into 2. It is perfect for garnishing, and then it adds such an amazing flavor to this dish. It is so distinct, you cannot miss it. And sometimes when I don't have scent leaf, I use basil. So if you don't have basil, maybe you should try using scent leaf for this recipe. While I was prepping the ingredients, I had my pot of water on the cooker, so it has come to a boil right now. And then I'm going to add in my pasta. If you've watched to this point and you like what you see, please click the like button. It really helps me out. Thank you. Once I add in the pasta, I season with salt. And let me tell you, I don't use a lot of water for my pasta because I want the salt to be, I want the salt to enter the pasta. So if you use a lot of water and you don't use enough salt, it's not going to really penetrate. But I find that when I use less water, to the point that when it boils, the water is not over the top of the pasta. I'll show you in a minute. So cook the pasta according to the package instructions. You don't want it to be too soggy. You don't even want it to be soggy at all. You need it to be firm. And this is how it looks when I boiled it. So there's no water at the top, just water at the bottom. And this method is going to help you infuse that salt into the pasta. Another way you can add flavor to your pasta is by cooking it in chicken stock, beef stock, or any kind of stock. It will add more flavor. So I've just run cold water over it so that it stops the process of cooking, and I'll set it aside to drain. I'm using a wide pan for this dish. Anytime I'm making maybe a sauce or I'm making pasta, I like to use a wide pan, and that's just because there is enough surface area for the sauce to cook. Sometimes the process of cooking is what determines the taste. Also, using a wide pan can make it cook faster because there's enough area for everybody to touch the heat. But if you put it in a smaller pot, it might tend to boil instead of frying. So I've just added some onions and I added some pepper at this stage, and that's because this pepper is very fragrant, so it makes this recipe taste different than if you put the pepper after. So the way and the time you put your ingredients also matter. So now this is the tomato paste I spoke about earlier. I've just added just a bit. This is not going to cook for so long because I've already boiled the tomato previously. So all I just need to do is for all the flavors to come together, and then we add the pasta. This recipe does not need a lot of seasoning. All I'm going to add is some salt. I also added some beef seasoning. You can use chicken seasoning or you can totally skip it if you like. And I'm just going to also add some thyme. That is all I'm adding to this recipe. You can even skip everything if you are someone that does not eat salt. But the thyme is going to add a lot of flavor to this dish. If you had fresh thyme, it would be even more amazing, but I wanted the focus of this pasta to be the basil. Once the sauce is cooked, just taste it. It will taste cooked to you. Then you add your cherry tomatoes and you just mix everything together. You don't want to add the cherry tomatoes in the beginning because you don't want them to lose their shape and you don't want to overcook it. So while the sauce tastes sweet, the cherry tomatoes is what is going to make it taste fresh. You know, in the beginning of this video, I said if you are looking for a fresh, delicious taste in your pasta, this is what I do when I need it. After putting the cherry tomatoes and cooking for a bit, maybe about 2 to 3 minutes, I'm going to put in the basil, and like I said, I don't like to cut it into little bits. You can if you want, but there's a look I'm going for. So I want the basil to really pop in this dish. Also make sure you don't overcook it because immediately I put the basil, everything went fast. Within 2 minutes the dish was ready. If not, the basil is going to look very dark and you would not like it. We need it to be bright green and beautiful. Now I'm just going to add the pasta to the sauce and mix everything together. What I like to do is just add a bit of pasta first, mix everything, make sure there is enough sauce for the pasta before I add more. If you want this dish to be more, let's say, more interesting, you can add some grilled chicken. I featured this recipe in my What I Eat in a Day video and a lot of people liked it. So this is why I'm making an individual video for this recipe because I really like it. And if you're vegetarian, you can just have it like this. So there's no chicken, no beef, and just mix everything together. It is delicious on its own, and that is how I ate it. I only grilled chicken and then put it at the top, but you don't have to mix any meat or anything with this pasta for it to be delicious. Now look at that plate of delicious pasta. It was so yummy to eat. I've made this recipe with spaghetti before and I just wanted to try it with the penne pasta, and I think I like both. I can't choose between which one I like for this recipe, so you can use both of them. I hope you like this recipe and I hope you try it. If you do, please tag me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I would love to see it. And also click the like button on this video and subscribe because I have recipes every week. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!